Hi everyone. I wanted to spend some time today talking about in-toeing and out-toeing. I get this question a lot and people want to know what they should do about it. So I want to back up a little bit and kind of talk about it. So I don't know if you can see my feet. So in-toeing is when you see the toes going in like this. I mean, this seems self-explanatory, and out-toeing is when you see the toes going out like this. So you can see it in different contexts. So some kids or adults, you may see that they have these positions when they're just standing still. So it's pretty evident, like their resting posture is in or out. It may be on one side, not the other. Some kids, you may see it when they're moving. So like when they're walking, so it comes across more functionally. So, they're walking and their foot's coming. Let me see if I can get back far enough. They're taking a step and the foot is coming in, or they're taking a step and the foot is out. This may be evident, in brand new walkers, where when they are choosing walking as their primary mode, so they're not really reverting back to crawling, they are a walker. I like to give them 1 to 2 months to see if any of these things even out. It's good to notice it and keep an eye on it. But because they're still trying to figure it all out, you may see some of these things, especially the out-toeing, because a lot of times one side might feel a little more stable to them. So if they take a step, they might bring the other foot just up to it or take a shorter step length. So it tends to be like almost, it's not a foot drag, but they sometimes show having foot external rotation or turned out. And sometimes we might see feet going in because they're not pushing off, or they have some weakness up here. So they're doing a little bit more of swinging their foot around instead of coming straight through. So you might see it land in a turned in position. You can pretty much never go wrong with core and hip strengthening for these things. But what I don't want people to start doing is just automatically putting things on to turn it in or out from the hip, because we don't know that it's coming from the hip. There's something called a torsional profile, where you're really looking at the different components of the leg to see if there is something in the alignment of the body that is causing this. So let's start at the hip. At the hip, you have a ball and socket, and you want them to be in the most congruent position possible. Some people, that they have their hips kind of turned out. I'm not even going to give you the fancy name for it, when they're at rest. So they're not sitting in this position. So when they stand, in order to get it most congruent, they end up putting their foot more in an internal toeing in position. We don't want to automatically turn the hip out because we don't want to put the hip in an unstable position. That doesn't necessarily mean there's nothing that can be done for it, but we don't want to just start cranking on the hip. That's why it's important to know what's happening there. Now, if that looks like everything is aligned there, but we're still seeing it, we're going to go down and we're going to look down here at this bone, because these long bones in our legs can all have twists in them, and some can have more twists than others. So sometimes it can be coming from how this bone is twisted. So again, turning out at the hip is not going to make a difference here because it's coming from here, and we're going to put the hip in an unstable position. Lastly, it could be coming from the foot itself. So sometimes some of the foot bones are turned inward more. So let's say this is the foot and some of them are like this. That could be rigid, meaning it's hard to get it back, or it could be flexible so you can easily move it back. And you want to keep an eye on that, but lots of climbing up slides, walking in bare feet to get those stronger. And then also having time in shoes to help with the natural alignment. So a little bit more of a rigid shoe to help get it in a better alignment. So hopefully that gives some information on in-toeing and out-toeing, about why it is so important to know what the cause is. Now, if everything turns out aligned, then we know it's more of a strength or a movement pattern. So I was talking about some kids doing this, or the pulling to. It doesn't come from the bones and the joints. It's because they need to get those muscles stronger, as well as strength, as learn new motor patterns to get in alignment. So there's things that can be done for that. So let me know what questions you have. That was a lot of information. And yeah, I'll put a question box here. Thanks.